Before you hear this story, remember one thing. Greek heroes are not defined by their strength, but by their suffering. And no one, no king, no warrior, no demigod, suffered more than Heracles. We know him today as a symbol of brute power, a man who held the sky on his shoulders and wrestled monsters into dust. But the real Heracles? His life was not a celebration of strength. It was a long, merciless punishment designed by the gods themselves. And it all began before he was even born. Heracles was the son of Zeus and a mortal woman, Alcmene. Zeus disguised himself as her husband, and from this deception came a child destined for greatness. But destiny is never free, especially when Hera, queen of the gods, discovers her husband's betrayal. Hera despised Heracles before he took his first breath. She delayed his birth so another child, Eurystheus, could be born first and become king. Before he could speak, she sent serpents to strangle him in his cradle. The infant Heracles seized them by the throat and crushed them like toys. It wasn't a victory. It was a warning. Hera's war had just begun. Heracles grew strong early, too strong. He killed his music teacher during a lesson, not out of malice, but because he couldn't control the power inside him. Everyone around him could see it. This boy was meant for something terrifying. And then Hera struck again. She clouded his mind with madness. In a moment of divine-induced frenzy, Heracles killed the people he loved most, his wife, Megara, and their children. When he regained his senses, he saw the bodies. And the truth crushed him harder than any monster he would ever meet. He wanted to die, but death would be mercy, and Hera wanted punishment. So Heracles sought purification at the Oracle of Delphi. The god Apollo commanded him to serve King Eurystheus, the very man Hera placed above him, the king who hated him, the king who would send him on missions designed not for glory, but for annihilation. These tasks would become known as the 12 labors. But in the original myths, they weren't heroic adventures. They were a sentence. Heracles' first trial was the Nemean lion, a beast no weapon could pierce. He strangled it with his bare hands, tearing off its skin and wearing it as armor. The sight of him, draped in an unkillable lion, terrified the world. But to Heracles, it was just the beginning. The second labor was the Lernaean Hydra, a serpent with regenerating heads, venom so toxic it could melt flesh, and a breath that killed on contact. With the help of his nephew, he cauterized every neck until only the immortal head remained. He crushed it with a boulder and dipped his arrows in the Hydra's poison. He didn't know it yet, but that poison would shape his fate more than any monster. The labors continued, capturing the sacred Ceryneian hind without shedding blood, wrestling the Erymanthian boar, cleaning the impossible filth of the Augean stables in a single day. Each task was crafted to humiliate him or kill him. And Eurystheus dismissed several of them, forcing him to complete even more. But something strange happened. The world began to admire him. Where Hera wanted damnation, mortals saw salvation. Heracles became a legend not because of his triumphs, but because he survived them. Yet Hera's hatred only grew. She drove Eurystheus to demand the capture of the Cretan bull, the man-eating mares of Diomedes, the belt of Hippolyta, the cattle of Geryon, the golden apples guarded by the Hesperides, and Cerberus, the hound of the underworld. Heracles completed them all. He wrestled giants, tricked gods, crossed worlds. He even bore the weight of the heavens itself when he briefly replaced Atlas. With each feat, he approached something close to immortality, but every victory came with scars, poison, or guilt. When the labors ended, the world worshipped him. But Hera wasn't finished. Heracles tried to rebuild his life. He remarried, this time to Deianira, a woman who loved him deeply. But on their travels, a centaur named Nessus attempted to assault her. Heracles shot him with a Hydra-poisoned arrow. As Nessus lay dying, he whispered a lie to Deianira. "Take my blood. It will keep Heracles faithful. It was not a love charm, it was venom. Years later, fearing Heracles would abandon her, Deianira gave him a cloak soaked in the centaur's blood. As soon as he put it on, the Hydra's poison burned into his flesh. His skin melted, his bones seared. No river could extinguish the agony. This was the moment Hera had waited for. Heracles, the strongest man on earth, brought to his knees by the consequence of his own power. He built his own funeral pyre atop Mount Oeta. When no one dared light it, his friend Philoctetes stepped forward. As the flames rose, the mortal part of Heracles burned away. But something else happened, something Hera never expected. Zeus intervened. He carried Heracles' immortal spirit to Olympus. The gods welcomed him. Even Hera, the goddess who hated him, accepted a truce, and in some myths, she adopts him as her son. The greatest hero of Greece was granted immortality. But here's the truth most stories never say. Heracles did not earn his godhood through victory, strength, or triumph. He earned it through suffering. Every monster he fought was nothing compared to the battles inside him. The madness, the guilt, the trauma, the divine cruelty. He wasn't a hero because he was strong. He was a hero because he bore the weight of a life designed to break him, and still kept walking. That is the real story of Heracles. A man born from deception, hated by a goddess, hunted by fate, who endured enough pain to destroy a dozen heroes, yet rose higher than all of them. Not because he was flawless, but because he was human.